Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. Getting what you deserve with the VA. How do you do it? How do you make sure that when you're submitting your claim, that the VA is going to turn around and give you back what you deserve? Not more, not less, but what you deserve. The fear, right? The fear is always, I'm throwing all this stuff together, I'm pushing it off to the VA, and now here I am, waiting and hoping that they give me what I think I should get. And sometimes we may be off in our own mind, right? We may be thinking that oh, I deserve this rating up here, whatever it may be, whatever number that is. And sometimes we just don't even know what we should be submitting for proof. We don't know what information they need beyond I have this condition. And we end up getting shortchanged. And that's the fear, is that we're going to get this rating that's lower than what we should actually be awarded. So for example, we might think that we deserve a 50% for a specific condition that we filed for. And the VA comes back and gives us a 0%. Okay. I will tell you personally that happened to me on my second claim, but I had a long story there. I did a video on it. So my second claim that I filed, which was really like my first claim because my first one was denied, I filed a claim, and in that claim I had an eye condition that I filed for, and the VA came back and gave me a 0%, right? Not satisfied, not happy, didn't get what I thought I should get, and I appealed it, and I then, on the back side, I did all the work I should have done in the front side, right? I should have done all these things up front, but instead, I waited for their decision. They came back. I was unsatisfied, pissed off. Now I had to go over here and then do all this work and then resubmit with a appeal. Now, the end result was fine. I ended up getting a 60% and I got a bunch of back pay. But quite frankly, I probably could have used that money a little more along the way in my life than one big lump sum at the very end, right? So, but at the end of the day, what I want everybody to understand is that when we as veterans, when we're filing a claim for VA disability compensation, we, as the patient of all the conditions that we're filing for, should know exactly what we're experiencing and exhibiting as far as signs, symptoms, durations, all of that stuff, right? You're the patient. You're the one who knows. Doctor asks you, you tell them. This many times per day, or this many times per month, or this many times per week, or this is what happens here, or this is as far as I can stretch, or whatever. So the point there is that if you know that, then you can take that information, because you know what you're diagnosed for. I have this condition, here's my signs and symptoms. If you have that information, you can now look in the VA's website at the VA rating schedule for that specific condition. And you can pull up that condition, and in the schedule of ratings, it's going to break it down for you, and it's going to say, if you have these symptoms and these durations, you should be rated at 10%. But if you have this extra thing, you should be rated at 30. If you have this extra thing on top of that, then you should be rated at 50. Right? So if you read those and you tell yourself, hey, I meet all of those, great. Read the next higher one up and see if you meet all of those. Hey, I meet all of those, great. Or I don't meet all of those. That's all right. Such is life. Go back down, read that next one. Cool, you meet all of those. That's what you should be rated. Whatever rating that is, right? So if you meet all the criteria they're looking for, now the smart move is have that conversation with your doctor that you're supplying evidence to the VA for your claim, and write that stuff down or print it out and take it with you to your C&P exam. Okay? Your C&P exam is essential. There's two ways that we as veterans mess this up. Okay? You walk into the C&P exam not prepared at all, and let's say that you got out of the military, 9 years ago. So you got out 9 years ago. You're at a C&P exam for migraine headaches. Okay? Right now, your evidence is in equipoise. Okay, it's equal on both sides. You don't have a lot of strong evidence. You didn't get diagnosed when you were in service. You got diagnosed after. You had some buddy statements, all of this type of stuff, talking about your migraines, and that was it, really, right? So now you're there and you're unprepared, and you didn't look at the schedule of ratings. You didn't do any of that, and you show up, and the C&P examiner asks you, so, how long have you been getting migraines? And you say, 10 years. In your mind, you're like, close enough. 10 years, about 10 years, whatever. About 10 years. Okay, well, you got out 9 years ago. So that 10-year mark puts you in there. So you're good. Okay? Now, imagine if you were in the same situation, and instead of rounding to 10 and being in that in the bucket of time that you were in, instead you said, 8 years or so. Well, now it happened after you got out of the military. Okay. Then let's say that the doctor goes, okay, well, what's your current job? What are you doing now? Well, I'm a house painter. Okay, well, you're probably breathing fumes, and that's why you have migraines, and you said that they came after your time in service. So you're probably going to get denied service connection. Now let's go the other way. Let's say that it was a 4-year enlistment, right? And you did your time, and you're filing for these migraines that manifested during your time in service. But you, when they ask you how long you've been getting them, you go ahead of that and you say whatever it is, right? 15, 16 years ago. And let's just say that that was a year prior, right? A year prior to joining. Well, when they do the math, they're going to figure it out. And they're going to say, oh, well, that was prior to you joining, so that means that you're not service connected for that, because you said out of your mouth that they came before your time in service. So again, just because I don't know if the math was right, let's say that you joined the military 5 years ago, you got out 1 year ago, and now it's a year and 1 month, and you go get diagnosed because you missed your window here for the presumptive. So a year and 1 month after you got out, you went and got diagnosed for migraines. You have no other proof. You get buddy statements, all that stuff. Now when you go to your C&P exam and you say, I don't know, I've been getting migraines for like 7 years. Okay, really it's been like 5.5 or 6, but you said 7. And because you said 7 out of your mouth, you said they happened before. So we don't mean to screw ourselves over. We don't mean to not have all the information. We don't know what they want when we get there. So then we're left to guess. Don't just throw out numbers. I'm telling you, don't do it. Make sure, take your time, think about it. If you're not sure the exact amount of years or the exact year, right, you just know that it was between here and here is when I started getting them. You can say, when they ask you that, so when did you start getting your migraines? Oh, I got them probably about, a year into my military service. I remember I didn't have any in boot camp or school. It was after I ended up getting to wherever I was going. And, it was shortly after that I remember getting my first one. And it was pretty horrific, right? So now at least you're giving the window of where they manifested instead of just throwing out a fake number because you don't remember. Right, so utilizing that technique can help. The other way that people mess up in the C&P exam is when the doctor starts asking about your signs and symptoms, and you did not look at the schedule of ratings, and you did not print it out, and you did not take all the notes with you, and you're sitting there, and they're asking you, and you're like, so tell me about your GERD. The doctor says, and you say, well, it's bad heartburn. Okay, anything else? Do you have any other symptoms? Well, it's really bad heartburn. Okay, is there anything else with your GERD that's happening with you? Well, sometimes I don't know, it's kind of like throw up in my mouth, I'll throw up a little bit. Okay, is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. You get a 10% rating is what you're going to get for that. If everything else is dialed in and they find you service connected, you're getting a 10%. But if you read the schedule of ratings and then you articulated something more to the effect of, doctor asks you, tell me about your GERD, and you say, well, I have difficulty swallowing, I have some regurgitation, sometimes I'll vomit a little bit, I have, some substernum issues, pain. I have, bad heartburn. I got pain that kind of shoots up into my chest. It's pretty bad. I'm worried about, if it continues. I mean, it's frequent. So, especially at night when I'm laying flat, I'll wake up in the middle of the night with my, throat on fire. And, I know that there's the potential of, cancer in the esophagus. So, it's concerning, really. And if that was kind of how you articulated it, then you're looking at, potentially a 30 or even a 60% rating for GERD. So a dramatic change. Now obviously, if you don't meet all of those signs and symptoms, then obviously you're not going to say those. But if you do, then you do, and you need to say them. So you need to be prepared. And that's really the bottom line of this video is be prepared, do your homework up front so you don't have to file appeals, articulate it correctly, show up to your C&P exam with notes. There's no shame in that. And I personally have even given the C&P examiner my notes. Here you go. So you can just take that and put it with your file. Or you can retype it in, or you can add it as an attachment, whatever. And I just did signs and symptoms, for this condition that first began, during service or manifested during this time frame, and here's the signs and symptoms and durations and what have you, and just give a little snapshot. And then I just give it to them. So with that, I'll go ahead and close it out. Thanks again. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.